Hey Gary, good afternoon. I just got your email. Were you able to fix the section G where it says expenses of bail bonds and changing it to expenses of whatever, right? Necessary living necessities, including the legal and medical affairs, or something similar to that?
That's all part of your compensatory damages.
Okay, so
You don't have to itemize stuff. You just prove what your damages are. You don't get living expenses because everybody has living expenses.
so there are pretty much already aware that those things are obviously necessary living necessities, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to make sure that they're aware. So, for example, we're not having to explain things and over and over, and it's just I don't know. Like for example, how I've been having to explain this situation over and over to the opposing counsels for the government agencies in Miami, for example, and them just acting like they don't understand English because they don't want to get in trouble, obviously. And I'm sending them narratives and exhibits of evidence and everything in detail, and they're just acting like they don't understand English when somebody is presenting to them clear and convincing evidence proving their complaint beyond a reasonable doubt and requesting monetary relief. And it's just annoying, and it's really overwhelming. It's hurting my neck. It's hurting my back. Just having to hold the phone and explain that and type that over and over. So that's what I mean by as long as they're aware of that. So, but you would know better than me. I don't know all the legal terms.
What happens is, you get in there and they ask you, what are your damages in interrogatories, and that's where you list everything. You don't put it in the complaint. You just say you suffer damages.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, complaints would be full of micro information about everything, and they're not.
Okay. No, I understand. But I didn't know. I mean, I was.
Anyway, you going to sign it or not? All I want to know is because I'm just kind of you don't want to sign it, then then you can do whatever you want to do, and I'll just be done. But
Yeah, the only dilemma was just what I was mentioning in the emails, that I wanted them to be fully aware of the severity of the situation, the full severity of the situation. But as you mentioned,
it ain't going to
those
matter.
things.
What do you think they're going to read this and go, oh, gee, we got to pay him a bunch of money now? He laid out all this stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I would expect.
You can tell them what it is.
Yeah, that's what I would expect them to do, because that's the truth. That's what happened.
Well, they're not going to do that. They're going to say, we didn't do a damn thing to this guy that wasn't called for under the law, so we don't owe him a penny. That's what their response is going to be.
I doubt that. For one, it's on.
I will guarantee flat out they will deny any responsibility at all and say they don't owe you a penny. I have sued sheriffs many times, and never once, well, I take that back, one time they did admit. Finally, of course, they only paid the guy $15,000, even though they admitted they were wrong. But that's the only case in 40 years where the sheriff's department admitted that they had a problem. They don't admit they have a problem. They will deny it. They will fight like hell. They will refuse to pay any money. For them, paying $2,500 is like paying $1 million. They just don't do it. Anyway, so.
Well, they're going to pay up this time. I'll tell you that much. I've got an irrefutable amount of clear and convincing evidence proving that they violated 18 USC SS 1513 and SS 766.110 repeatedly in the same exact way as the previous government agencies did. And they all did that out of a desperate defense because they all know that I have clear and convincing evidence. Say it again?
If they violated anything, it's just the Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure because of excessive force. That's about That's what your case is. I don't know what these statutes are.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about, or these numbers you're talking about.
Well, the violations of 18 USC SS 1513 and SS 766.110 are statutes that state
18 USC 1513.
it's 18 USC SS 1513.
That is a federal criminal statute. That has no bearing on this case. But
Well, see, what they did was, and I have video evidence proving it also, and it's the same exact.
it's a criminal statute. It's not.
Yeah, they're criminals, Gary. I'm trying to tell you, it's not just.
But you don't bring criminal statutes in there. I mean, this is a case for violating the U.S. Constitution.
Right, that's what they did. They violated.
Well,
They took
18
advantage of.
USC 1513 is not the United States Constitution. That's the United States Criminal Code, and you are not a federal prosecutor.
Well, I'm explaining to the. Well, I'm mentioning that statute because that statute sums up exactly what they did, and if
How did they violate that? What?
they did the same exact thing that they did in South Florida when I was in.
What, with full knowledge of what the Miami people called them up and said
Oh yeah.
to do this to this
They
guy?
were fully aware. They were fully aware, Gary. And when I say fully aware, they were doing things during, before, and after I filed the complaints in Miami and had to leave from Miami because they were harassing me the exact same way in Miami. And I moved to Broward for my safety, thinking that it'd be safer, being that I would not be right there next to the city of Miami Police Department area where I had to file a complaint against them. And
Well,
they harassed
you would
me.
have a hard
They
time proving that these officers
I already proved it.
did what they. I didn't see any proof of that.
Well,
Where you got statements from these guys saying we did what we did because he had done this Miami case. You got their admissions on record that that's what these officers said. This is why we did this, because he had this case in Miami. No, you don't have that. So you don't have any evidence at all of that. And they will hotly deny that. And you won't have any way of proving it.
I have several ways
The
of
only way you
proving
can
it.
prove it is for them to admit it. And they would have to admit, yeah, we heard about this guy had this case in Miami, so that's why we went out and did what we did. They're going to be arguing that you were a person subject to a possible Baker Act, and they were trying to subdue you and get you under control for your own good. That's what they're going to say.
Okay, well,
I can tell you right now, that's
Gary,
what
I
they're
tell you what,
gonna say.
I hope they use that word possible and potential and all that, because just like they're gonna try to use that as a desperate defense, I have evidence proving that they utilized the information that the
What
City of
evidence
Miami
do you
Police
have to
Department tried to falsify
What evidence
in the
do
same
you
way.
have that these officers, because you're only suing these officers.
Yeah,
So,
they're
what evidence do you have that these officers knew anything about Miami case?
I have a pattern of clear and convincing
No,
evidence.
I'm not talking about a pattern. I'm talking about that these guys knew about it.
They're
They
a
were
government.
directed by their bosses.
They're a government agency, Gary. They're going to
So
try to
what?
cover it up. They, Gary, these
Because
people,
they're government agents doesn't mean you get to assume facts, not evidence.
not assuming.
You got to have a statement from these officers. Why did you do this? Well, we heard about this thing in Miami, and so we thought we would retaliate against him.
And
for
that's
doing
what they
that
did.
in Miami.
That's exactly what they
And
did.
I can tell you, they are not going to say that. Not now, not ever in their whole life.
Just like,
Has that ever happened? And it won't happen in this case.
and just like Gary, just like when the
No, tell me this never happened. That's never going to happen.
what I'm trying to tell you is, you see, okay, what I'm trying to tell you is,
And don't tell me you have evidence of it, because you don't.
I do.
It would be impossible for you to have such evidence.
How is it impossible?
These guys testified under oath that's what they did, and that's crazy.
How is it impossible if I have a pattern of clear and convincing evidence proving exactly what they did? I just need an opportunity to
Because
present it.
that doesn't go to their state of mind. That doesn't say they did anything for that reason.
Well, Gary, they did,
This is
unfortunately.
a case brought by you against these individual sheriff's deputies. So what evidence do you have that any one of these individual, not a pattern, do you have a pattern by these guys against you? No, you have a case that happened to you. So
I
you
have
don't
a,
have nothing in the past counts. This is strictly why did they do what they did on this day? And what evidence do you have that any other case has anything to do with it? Did they tell you?
they violated, and I
No,
reported.
did they tell you?
No,
Did
it
they say,
happened.
oh, this is that guy that
It happened to me,
suing
Gary.
people down in Miami. Let's kick his butt right now.
It
You have that?
happened.
Is that what they said to you? No,
Gary,
it's
they did
not.
that to me.
Why
Is what I'm trying
can't
to
you
tell you.
just admit that I don't have that, Mr. Perney?
I
I
do.
am just assuming things that I'm hoping
Never
to be
assumed.
true, but I don't have any real evidence that it's true.
Gary, I'm
Why
not
can't you
assuming
just
anything.
admit that?
I'm not assuming anything. I have evidence because it happened to me, and I documented
Well,
it every
what
step
is
of the
that
way.
evidence of? That means like, well, I was in a car accident in Tampa and I was in a car accident in Miami, so therefore the guy who hit me in Tampa knew about the car accident I had in Miami. How would he possibly know?
Because maybe he might have planned the car accident for insurance fraud. Things like this happen all the time, Gary. Like I'm trying to tell you, they violated
Well,
1-8.
you're going to be in for a big surprise. Then.
Well, they're going to
Ain't
be
gonna
in
go
for
down the way you're saying it.
Gary. They're going to be in for a big surprise when I present the evidence of 18 USC SS 1513 and SS 766.110 being violated repeatedly from one government agency to the next, and they violated those rights. They violated those statutes.
By who?
What do you
Who
mean by who?
rights have they violated other than yours?
They
To
did.
show a pattern, you got to show they've done this to like 10 different people. So who are these other people you got to...
I'm talking about them doing this to me, Gary.
Well, that's not a pattern. That's you. I'm talking about a pattern. Is
Well, that's what I'm
other
suing.
people
I'm suing
have
because they did it to
experienced
me.
the exact same thing. So you got to show that every time a guy in Miami gets arrested and the Broward County Sheriff's Department retaliates against him. I don't think you're going to be able to show that. I think that's...
I just told you I could, Gary. When I reported this,
Okay. You keep saying that, but you don't give me any... You say you got a pattern.
Gary,
I don't
it's all in the
name-
email.
Name
It's
the officers
it's
who
all in
did
the email
other
thread.
cases.
I could sit here on the phone for
You're
hours
suing
and read it
these
to you.
guys. So what evidence do you have of the people named in this complaint that they're part of some pattern?
Okay, I'll tell you, Gary.
Hey, give me the evidence. You said...
Give me a second to do
What
that,
evidence do you
Gary.
have
You're
of
not
the
letting me
guys
talk,
named in
Gary.
this
Gary,
complaint?
calm down. You're not letting me
This
talk. You're
complaint-
upsetting me right now, man. I have clear and convincing
I
evidence.
understand I'm upset because you're upsetting me because you're telling me stuff I know.
Gary, you're giving me
Nothing
1
to do with
second to
case.
respond, and then you're assuming that I don't have evidence, and I'm telling you I do, and I emailed you the evidence with thread of narratives and
These
exhibits
guys-
of evidence.
These officers' names on it?
It has video
Just
evidence. It
narrow
has
down,
complaints
send
that
me
I
the one-
filed, and it all
Take
proves it.
Take one of these named defendants in the complaint, and you send me the evidence that this person is
Gary,
engaged in a pattern of retaliation against you.
Gary, you have to remember, my father retired from the Broward Sheriff's Office after 30 years of service. They're all aware in real time everything that I'm complaining about. I reported this to the President of the United States of America. That's how serious it has gotten. There was-
So you think
I
the Broward
point
County
something
Sheriff's
out. I point
Department's
something out to you,
reading your
Gary.
letters to the president?
Say that again.
You think the Broward County Sheriff, these officers have read your letter to the president?
Gary, they have read my letter. They have seen my
How did they read
evidence.
your
They have
letter
they
to
have
the
they have
president?
been on my social media. They have been on every single possible platform that I had to document all of these exhibits of evidence on, because when I originally reported this shit, Gary, let me talk, man. Gary, please,
What's
Gary.
your evidence of that?
Evidence of what?
That they were on your social media platform?
Because when I originally reported this situation that happened in Miami, I only had a cheap cell phone, and I was literally documenting the evidence on a phone, and the only place that I was able to find to live, they had people there orchestrating a cover-up attempt in the exact same way that the other places that I was only able to find to live orchestrated a cover-up attempt after I originally complained about them about the police trying to kill me.
How would they know where you're attempting to live?
And then, because they were following me, Gary, after I filed the complaint. And then a person there broke my phone with the evidence in it. But luckily, I was aware that what they were doing, and I was documenting this evidence also on social media. You understand? And then finally, when I had a little bit more money,
stuff on social media isn't documenting evidence.
Gary, I documented the narratives and exhibits of evidence on social media because of what happened and them trying to cover up the evidence.
That's all I'm asking you. Because if you don't, then
if I don't what?
Have a good day. If you don't, I can't file the complaint until you sign it. You haven't signed it yet. I don't have a signed.
Gary, consider it signed.
I'm not filing anything, and if I don't have it by Friday, I'm not filing anything ever.
Gary, I don't understand. I don't understand what's so difficult about me explaining this to you. That I need you to help me with the case. Consider it already signed about me saying that. All I'm telling you is just all I was concerned about really was
Then why are we having this conversation? Why haven't you just
because Gary, I thought you were testing me for a second. Gary, I thought you were, to be quite honest with you, I thought you were testing me to see if I had evidence or not, and I do have evidence. And that's the only reason why I'm being so passionate about it, because I do have evidence.
Well, I'll be surprised if you have, quote, real admissible evidence, but
well, Gary, I tell you what, if I get the opportunity, Gary, it's beyond paranoid. It's beyond paranoid. Trust me.
Okay. Well, anyway, you heard what I said.
If I get the opportunity to present this evidence to a judge,
don't. I don't need this conversation. I got other things to do besides sit here and try and figure out why this guy hasn't sent me the signed complaint. When I have clients that I'm representing, I tell them sign the complaint. They read it, they sign it, and we file it.
Yeah, but Gary, I have to understand.
You don't have this plan. You have some other thing in mind, which I don't know what it is, and I don't really want to know. And if you want to do your own thing, do it. That's your game. You can have a fun time doing it. But if you want me to be involved, I told you what to do.
It's depressing, okay? Gary, and it's ruining the quality of me and my family's life.
All the time. I don't need that. I need a signed complaint. So call me when you sign the complaint.
All right, so send me the complaint. Hello? Gary, are you serious? Did you just hang up the phone, Gary?
Hello, this is the office of Gary Lee Printy, attorney at law. Hello, this is the office of Gary Lee Printy, attorney at law. Mr. Printy is either on another call or away from his desk. Hello, this is the office of Gary. Hello, the office of Gary Lee. Hello. Hello. This is the office of Gary Lee. Hello. This is the office of Gary Lee.
Time now is 3:11 p.m. Today is Wednesday, February 27th, 2024.